Hello everyone, I am Dr. Veeraj Hegde, Professor and HOD in the Department of Swasthavritta and Yoga, Yenepoya Ayurveda Medical College and Hospital. Today I will be dealing with the topic of Rutucharya. Rutucharya, a very basic concept of maintenance of health with regards to preventing the diseases according to changes that happens in the season. The specific learning objectives are to understand classification of seasons and their different lakshanas, to analyze the sanchaya, prakopa and prashama of doshas with their gunas in each rutu, and to clinically apply the relation of Agni, Bala and Rutu, to learn the concept of Rutu Shodhana for the prevention of diseases, and to finalize and analyze the Patya Apatya with regards to Ahara Vihara, and that happens in the present scenario. These are the content of my presentation. Aruna Datta, a commentator from Ashtanga Hridaya, quotes that Rutu Visheshascha Ahara Vihara Sevana Pratipadanartha Rutucharya. He means to say that those modalities in terms of lifestyle and food that we change and adopt to change of seasons according to the seasons is termed as Rutucharya. There are specific type of changes that we have to do as per the changes that happens in the environment. Before we start with the topic, it is better we get into a logic how it has been framed. The logic of having anything in Ayurveda mainly depends upon the Tridosha, Trimala, the Saptadhatus. It is always seen that the gunas that are innate to the Tridoshas, either if it is increased or decreased, it causes a disease. Here we have Vata dosha, which is having Ruksha guna or the dryness or Kara guna, roughness in it, or the Chalatva, the mobility as an innate guna quality of Vata, and Pitta has Ushna, Tikshna, Snigdha guna, Dhrava guna, and Kapha dosha has an innate quality of Snigdha, Guru, Manda and Shita guna. Now whenever these innate qualities, that is the constitution of those doshas, are either decreased or increased, the reasons for the decrease and increase might again depend upon several factors. The first among them is what they eat. The second is what they activity involve in. And next is the climate and the environment to which they are exposed. Here you can see that whenever a Vata person, Vata Prakriti person having a dry quality already as in constitution wise, excessively if it is exposed to Vata Kara or Vata increasing activities, then you might have a dry skin or increased dryness of the skin, or can have constipation like of symptoms. And when it decreases, the same person with Vata Bahula Prakriti can have an fatigability, easy fatigability, or an improper digestion or intolerance to cold. Such examples are there for all other doshas, for similarly with the Pitta dosha and for Kapha dosha. And to overcome these, the modalities according to the season have been explained. Now we will go in topic proper, where before we understand the different seasons, it is better we understand how the seasons have been classified. In these Hindu calendars or the Indian calendar, it has been again classified as 6 different seasons, and each season having 2 months. The classification over there can be clearly made out. The Adana Kala or the Uttarayana, and next is the Visarga Kala or the Dakshinayana. The Adana Kala or the Uttarayana consists of 3 seasons with respect to Shishira, Vasanta and Grishma, and the next 3 seasons are Varsha, Sharad and Hemanta. This would be a broad, clear-cut classification of how the modern calendar and the ancient Indian calendar can be very much correlative, and the Bala which has been explained over there. in the particular season, in the particular month of the year, there would be increase or decrease in the bala. Here when the concept of bala is explained, the acharyas are more clear about it, where they say that the bala is in terms of their ability to tolerate the external environment and the ability to accommodate to the food that is been ingested in that environment, and the chances of disease that takes place in that environment, and how the immunity or the immune response of each individual, how it reacts, or how he manages to fight back those diseases occurring in particular season. The classification clearly makes three main categories. The first being the lowest avara, second moderate, which is madhyama bala, and third is the uttama bala. And this on par goes with all the prakritis, but still kapha prakritis people are said to be more having strength in all these physical attributes that I have initially mentioned. With the first two, it is Grishma and Varsha, that is the rainy summer season and the monsoon, the 4 months starting from the May, June, July, August, being the least tolerable ones, or in terms of disease manifestation, there is more chances of the disease manifestation seen in these 4 months. And again then during the months of spring, that is March, April, and during the months of September and October, that is one after the post monsoon, those 4 months it is seen that Vasanta and Sharad time, the Madhyama bala of the person can be witnessed in terms of his digestive power or accommodating with the external environment. The strength of the person is in its Uttama stage, or the best time, when it is during the Shishira and Hemanta, that is the end or the beginning of November till the end of February, and most particularly during the initial phase of January and the end phase of December. It is already evident that with these three major classifications, we can further move on to what type of presentation is seen in each Rutu with respect to what happens with the doshas, and some minor changes when it is done. Here the calendar of 6 variations, that is 2 months each, and the next one is the seasonal Rutu wise variations, again Grishma, Varsha, Sharad, Hemanta, Shishira and Vasanta, and that particular changes that takes place in the external environment, gunas and properties in the season and in the body. You can make out that directly the Vasanta Rutu, the Shishira Rutu, the Hemanta Rutu. In these there are variations in the external environment a little bit towards that of Shita Guna and Snigdha Guna, whereas in the part of Sharat Rutu, Grishma Rutu, it is more of Ushna Guna. With correspondence to all these gunas, you can see that when in the summer season, when Ushna Bahulyata is seen, slowly there is a Vata Sanchaya. The months of summer tends to accumulate Vata dosha, and the same Vata dosha gets Prakopa in the next coming month, that is Varsha Rutu, where Shita Guna, that is an innate property of Vata dosha, gets aggravated. Same thing happens with that of Varsha and Sharad. In the Varsha Rutu, there is Pitta Sanchaya, and the same Varsha Rutu, when it gets in contact with the Ushna Gunata of Sharad Rutu, gets Prakopa. And Vasanta Rutu has the Kapha Prakopa Lakshanas because of the Snigdha and Ushna Bahulyata present in the external environment. Now, in summarized way, we can say the same thing over here, where Vata dosha, Chaya or the accumulation of the doshas happens during the summer, and then Prakopa during the Varsha Rutu, and then Prashamana of the same thing happens during Sharad Rutu. Pitta dosha has its Chaya during Varsha Rutu, Prakopa during Sharad Rutu, and Prashama during Hemanta Rutu. Kapha dosha The accumulation of kapha dosha takes place during the Shishira Rutu or the winter, and then the prakopa, the aggravated lakshanas can be seen during Vasanta Rutu, and then the prashamna happens during summer. Now there are three words, chaya, prakopa and prashamna, which means to say the three stages of the same dosha in its normalcy. In its normalcy means if a person involves in proper adaptive methods. When in case of prakopa, when in case of sanchaya, if a person starts eating or changing his lifestyle habits according to the dosha accumulation so that it doesn't happen, then there won't be the chance of prakopa. Or when there is prakopa, there is Rutucharya, Rutushodhana I explained. If that is done, then by itself it can be reduced. And if that is done in the next coming Rutus, again when it is continuously followed, the slight aggravation that has happened in the previous Rutu will mitigate by itself. These are the norms on natural terms. If at all it is not followed, then there is a chance of causation of disease. And if there is a causation of disease, they needs to be managed in the proper Shodhana treatments. Now here there is a classification in the of different procedures that have to be done in particular Rutu, starting from the Shishira Rutu, Vasanta Rutu, Grishma Rutu, Sharad Rutu, Hemanta Rutu. You can see that it is not just the Panchakarma, the Upakarmas are also mentioned to mitigate the doshas. Whenever there is the increase of doshas of Pitta Prakopa, what we have seen during the first few slides, when I explained about Sharad Rutu and the Paitika Pitta Prakopa will happen, in that case what is to be done? There should be Snehapana, Virekshana or Rakta Mokshana which is advised. And in Hemanta Rutu, it is Svedana and Udvartana that is explained. And same goes with all the doshas. Either Shishira Rutu, some small abhyanga should be done, though the bhala of the patient is more, there are chances of kapha sanchaya that has to be reduced. In Vasanta Rutu, during the month of April, it is seen that more of the kapha nimitta vyadhis will take place. So what can be done is there is a proper shodhana for it. Vamana can be done, Udvartana can be done to reduce the sanchita kapha. Dhumapana, Kavala, Anjana has been explained. And in Grishma Rutu, all the Shitopacharas, all the drink, all the beverages, all the cooling food that can be taken are explained over here. So these changes, when done in terms of their chaya, prakopa and prashama, it will help in managing the homeostasis. Finally, it is the diet and lifestyle modifications that is required during each season. Starting with the season of Shishira Rutu, that is winter and January, winter presenting in the month of January and February, you can see that warm clothes or warm eatables and warm place to live are opted, and then food which are more with the snigdha amshas like that of ghee, jaggery have to be taken. And apatya during this time is the intake of cold, dry or light foods or lagu aharas, which can again, or even excessive intake of following of fasting and all, can increase the chances of vata vyadhis. Next, in Vasanta Rutu, it is during the spring, it is always explained to take a good amount of leaves, leafy vegetables, dry and bitter foods, and to always avoid too much of cold or sweet edible items. In the month of Grishma, it is all conducive to hydrated foods. All the food that can keep a person cool and hydrated have to be always opted. Fruits of many other melons have to be opted, whereas salty and too spicy foods, alcohol, excessive exertion with physical exposure to sun or anything should be avoided. With Varsha Rutu or the monsoon season, it is there are many following for many food that has been completely restricted during the Varsha Rutu, just because of the reason that the liquid that is being taken, or the water that is being planted, that has been taken up by the plant during that season, can cause the contamination of the water, and then that itself can be seen in the product of those vegetables, and that can cause disease. So as much as possible, it is better to keep a easily digestible lagu ahara during this, and then intake of lavana is good, so that vata prakupita lakshanas can be reduced with the food itself. Apatya here is again too much of intake of the cold and guru aharas. Sharad Rutu, it is better to keep the food that reduces the causative causative part of pitta, wherein you have the virechana, which is explained in this season. Those lagu virechaka, mrudu virechaka in terms of food also can be opted in during Sharad Rutu. Too much of spicy and irritative food have to be avoided during the Sharad Rutu. And then during Hemant Rutu, it is better keep some always, it is the early winter where you start accumulating little bit of cold and that related disorders. It is better you start taking up milk, ghee and nuts, etc. These are the references in which Rutu and Rutucharya have been explained in our classical texts. Thank you.